right, welcome everybody to the most ill-conceived business podcast around, the Business is Bullshit podcast. I'm James Hornick. Joining me for our first in-person podcast session, Jared Gibson and Jon Tsourakis. Episode 3, guys, AI and disability greed.
Yes.
Talk about shoehorning two completely unrelated topics into one.
Yeah, it's a good.
Yeah, two little very. People are gonna be like, "What's disability greed?" Oh, you're gonna find it. Wait till the end of the podcast. We'll get into that. Before we start, Jared, you had some stories. You had an update on what was your fraud case?
Chasegate.
Chasegate. That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
So update on that is I got a call from somebody in the executive suite at Chase that said that we dug further into your inquiry and we decided that you did not, in fact, purchase those tickets. And we are going to reimburse you the money back to your account. And I'm like,
this is after getting in the USA Today.
A national news reporter.
It took a national news reporter blasting Chase from to do anything.
Yeah. So the episode, I think you tagged it last time. It came out, or not the episode. The article came out. The paper issue came out this week.
Yeah.
So it's in the actual USA Today paper. And I thought it was a pretty well written piece.
Oh yeah.
Like it
Pulitzer. Incredible.
Yeah,
100%
Pulitzer. What I love is that the whole thing came about because your dad lives next door to a reporter and got really upset and just walked over there randomly
walked
and
over
said,
and knocked
"You
on the
talk
door.
to my son."
Yeah, I want you to talk. Can you talk to my son? But it's crazy to me though. Still, like I was like happy that it happened. I'm getting my money back, but I'm still like pissed off that it took me 4 months of. I don't even know how many hours I spent on the phone talking to people.
The biggest bank in the world, aren't they? You know.
And it was. I mean, it was Chase and Visa.
Is your dad the kind of guy that just gets shit done?
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah, he's definitely a GSD guy. Yeah, he's old school.
Hey, can I borrow some sugar?
He'll say whatever.
By the way, my son needs an article.
But so the money came back. It's still a pain in the ass, and it's still also alarming that all a hacker needs is your name, your email address, and your home address. Like, boggles my mind. And funny enough, nobody's gonna listen to this, so I can say it. I think this may have been off the record.
Yeah, we'll edit it out.
They apparently said that when we asked, like, hey, well, what was the additional information that you gathered that like showed that he's not the one that bought the tickets? And he wouldn't say it, but they did say he seems to be a big sports fan and buys tickets frequently.
That's you.
I think that was like one of the big.
How often do you buy sports tickets? How many events do you go to per year? How many sporting events?
Sporting events?
Yeah.
Let's say 8.
Guilty.
Well, here's the thing. I live in Chicago. I'm not a Chicago sports fan at all. Like I'm a Cleveland sports fan. So when Cleveland sports teams, I don't want to talk about that. We're not going to talk about that. Right now we're down 2-0 in the series, but I think we can come back. We'll see what happens. Anyway, if Cleveland sports teams come, I'll go. If Ohio State sports teams come, I'll go. But so I would say 8 to 10 events a year I'll go to. So I do frequently buy tickets, but I'm not going to go sit courtside at an NBA Finals game down in Texas for $3,000.
Did you ever get the video footage?
No, I'm not. No, nobody reached out to the arena and said, like, give me a video of everybody that walked into your sold out event.
Who was sitting in the court side?
I don't know the exact seats.
Chase could have figured that out.
Yeah.
They could have been like, okay, here's the seats. Give me the video footage. And if it's not you.
Listen, that would have been funny as hell.
Right. You got like Jay-Z. They got pictures of him sitting courtside.
Yeah. So anyway, issue was resolved. So got the money back. Still a little bit fucking pissed.
Thanks, Dad.
So back to what we wanted to talk about today. Combination of AI and, how did I phrase it? Disability greed. So what I'm curious about with AI is the things that are actually, there's so much bullshit about, like, I guess the challenge I have with AI in general right now and like the commentary around it is there's people who are like pumper self-promoters who are like, just, it's going to change. It's going to be the most amazing thing ever. And then there's well, I'm kind of a hater myself, but then there's everyone who's like saying, oh, I can't do anything right, because they're frankly terrified it's going to take their job. And for a lot of people, it might actually make them do a pivot. But for looking down there, I believe that all the AI companies out there right now, like 95% of them or more will go out of business. And the other 5% will actually doing something that has a meaningful impact.
It's a crypto.
And both the lovers and haters will claim like they were right the entire time. But I've seen some crazy stuff in the hiring space, in the recruiting space I work in recently. So there's a bunch of these out there. And I saw 2 new things today that are totally new to me. But first, there's companies out there that do that'll allow you to customize your resume towards any job description on the fly with one click. So you could customize your resume to 100 different jobs without touching anything in 10 seconds, hit a button, and you apply to 10 jobs. Now, this sounds like an amazing thing for job seekers out there. The problem is, like, people who field these things if you post jobs right now, you're getting absolutely flooded with hundreds and thousands of applications, and there's no way to actually vet them or source them or go through them all.
But I think somebody's going to develop some type of product where there's going to be like a pixel in there or some kind of unifying code to say, like, this is certified.
I guess the thing is there's people on our team that have already decided it's easier to just skip posting jobs and to strictly go after people like outbound. Because when you do that, at least like when you do talk with somebody, you're not getting like the AI version of them that fits. You're actually like getting kind of they're not teaching themselves towards the test. You know what I mean? They don't know the answers and whatnot. And then the flip side of it is you got other companies that use AI to do the filtering. So like when people receive resumes, they have AIs now in their ATS system that are figuring out, okay, which are the best ones to talk to, which means they're getting a lot of people who don't actually have this background, but may look like they did, passing and getting more interviews than people who actually like quote unquote play by the rules, that actually have this background, that actually took the time to thoughtfully like. And so
robots hiring robots.
Yeah, and
that's literally what's happening here.
Basically, humans are now a conduit for the machines that talk to each other, number one, when it comes to this. And now the 2 things I saw new today, someone took the same concept. The company is called Massive. They turned it into Tinder. You can apply to a job just by swiping right.
Let's back up. All right, so there's a company that's emulating Tinder, and they call themselves Massive.
No, I think he just used that as an example.
That's an
like
example.
Tinder is an example.
Tinder is an example.
Oh,
get your head
they're using. You can apply to a job by swiping on your phone. Apply,
but that's what I'm saying.
Apply.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then even worse, and this is really because you hire people. There's a company called Final Round AI. They do live interview cheating. So if you're doing a Zoom interview, it actually is recording and giving you the answers to the questions in real time.
Hold on a second. So,
hiring is so
I have
fucked.
somebody.
I mean, this is just today I learned of these things, and these are things that came out in the last couple months. Yeah,
I have somebody in one of the companies that I'm a partner in that we've hired, and I wasn't my pick. Right. There was another guy. I was like, way better. And then, he wanted a little bit more. So there was this argument. Oh, we can save here. I was like, all right, fine, whatever. So they bring in this other guy who I was completely like vetoed. But, I was like, there was like 6 other people on the hiring team. So they pull him in. This guy's clearly lying about like his capabilities. And I can see it because I started, and I can't name the specialty that I started in. So I can see where he's lying. And we're hiring somebody else so these 2 players can play against each other for this role or whatever. I would kill to have this to just reveal, because I've given him every opportunity to say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing and I need more help, right? I'm just like kind of extending these olive branches. And instead of him, grabbing said olive branch, he just slaps it away and tries to make me look like I don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, all right.
Like, how do you know? Like, can you talk about it?
Okay, so So for instance, you're going to talk about all right, I'm just going to say whatever it is. All right, so you're going to talk about ads, right? So somebody's going to have a certain number of traffic based on specific keywords or something like that. Yep. And you're on the phone with the client, and this person supposedly did their report to dig into this data. And the client literally said, like, you don't know what you're talking about. And it pulled up the numbers that we had access to so we could all see. It was like so embarrassing, right? So there's no way to back out of that. But then now there's all this reporting and all this bullshit that's done to like try to cover the tracks when we're on our heels trying to save the client account, because we don't want to look stupid. Mm-hmm. We can clearly do the work, but this person's making us look stupid. So I feel like I've over articulated this to any event, but I would kill for this to say like, okay, do this test and let's see where you're at.
That'd be.
Is it like I'm like glorifying this because in my head I'm like, oh, this is like a live polygraph. Like,
but I think you're thinking about it I think
No,
you're missing. You're
missing. You're looking.
That's
at
not a big
It's
surprise.
the other side.
It's the other side.
Good job. Good job.
You're
Way to
interviewer,
take how much time?
So yeah, thanks for getting that wrong, John. Okay,
great.
if you're interviewing for a job, you can use this as to give you the answers you're supposed to tell the interviewer.
Fuck! That is absolutely what I do not want. That is the total opposite of what I was thinking.
I was trying.
Of what I was like following along, but I'm like, is he like okay? Yeah.
There came a point where I was just like,
no.
So here's the thing, John. There's now if I were to talk about these two technologies, like the auto apply technology would customize your resume or the cheat on the interview, like to a job seeker right away, they'll be like, oh, that sounds good. That can benefit me. Except now you're competing against 100 times as many people for when you apply. And if you're actually good, you have a worse chance of getting a job because someone's able to better fake their way to getting that job instead of you. So I think people need to realize that like these things that look like there's like a solution are actually a bigger problem.
Yeah.
And because like if you're a frustrated job seeker now, you think this is like a quick like way to get somewhere. Like I guarantee you, if you're actually good, this is going to make your life harder.
So somebody's going to build this thing that everybody's going to pay money for, and then so that's like the offense. Then somebody's going to build something else that's the defense to that, right? It's like cold email, then spam blocker.
is there a defense for anything right now? What's the defense out there now? I mean, is Google built something or?
There's no defense for Jared's identity theft. I mean,
yeah, there is. Dad.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Love you, Dad.
No, it's that the problem is that like a generative AI, it's gotten so like I remember when the first ChatGPT came out, like it was garbage. It was like terrible. You could tell right away reading it, this is generated by a computer, but it's getting more and more sophisticated every day. Like your ability to with a naked eye see something and be like, oh, that's clearly because you forget like most people are shit writers to begin with. You know what I mean? So like generative AI has gotten to the point where it looks like every other like shit writer out there doesn't know how to write a resume.
Oh, that's a good call.
You don't. I mean, we're totally changing the subject here right now, and we can dive back in. Sure. But you don't
turn the shit.
Like I'm obviously on LinkedIn a lot. You're on LinkedIn a lot. I think you are a little bit. Like you can look at a post and know that like.
How? Like, what do you guys see in there?
Yes, and man, before
it's so much.
I look for personality.
Everybody's just
4 years ago, there were just as many bad posts out there. Yeah. So I don't think it's changed. It's just the people who are bad writers can take even less effort for their crappy output.
They have better grammar.
Yeah,
and they're bad ideas.
Slightly. Yeah.
Hey, let's go. I want to go back though to what you were talking about when you guys, because obviously this is your area. When like if I were to look for a job right now, and maybe this is because I'm older and I've gone through it, and like the job that I would be seeking would be more high level, as opposed to somebody that's right out of college and just applying for jobs. But I would use my network. Like I would use. There's other ways.
That's the only.
Like I would never apply.
That's the only way people are getting jobs now. Like, which is terrible. Like the easiest way to hire, not to get a job, but the easiest way to hire if you're a company, like you're trying to hire for your companies, is like post a job, see if anybody good comes in. Like that's not a reality anymore. No. You're going to get like it's always been a problem where certain types of people are just more likely to just apply to anything, but that's like on steroids now. All you have to do is like swipe your thumb or just click all like anything that looks remotely close. And if you're trying to compete, like. It's one thing if there's 10 good candidates and 20 people apply, but there's 10 good candidates and 2,000 people applied. Like the odds of you getting seen, unless that company's using AI on the other side to filter them, but then they're just getting whoever wrote the best AI-driven resumes.
What about like there's no like test or anything that somebody puts in front of this to like have, somebody do some manual things to like not just submit the freaking PDF.
Trend is they want to make applying as easy as possible. Like the LinkedIn's whole easy apply button to make it so like anybody can apply to anything quickly.
Yeah, we don't put any of our stuff on LinkedIn.
I would argue that this has been an issue well before ChatGPT.
It has, but it's AI. On steroids now.
Okay.
It's multiples worse because it's that much easier for anybody to do. It was always an issue that anybody will apply to anything. Now it's an issue that anybody can apply to anything with a resume that looks like it fits, even though the person doesn't.
But what about the other side of that? So, and where I'm going with this is about, I don't know, 8 years ago, I applied. I just was like applying for, it's not like I was looking for a job or whatever. I forget what the scenario was.
Wendy's or something?
Wendy's. And I was applying. I was using my network, but I was also at the same time applying on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
For jobs. and I would upload my resume, and I was just getting the same message back. You know, hey, we appreciate you uploading it, or appreciate you, whatever.
We'll be
at this point in time, like we're going in a different direction, whatever that ends up being, right? And I kept getting the same type of message over and over again. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to start applying to like first year out of college jobs, just as an experiment to see what will happen. So I started doing that and applying for like low level, like right out of college jobs. Well overqualified for. Well overqualified for. And I was getting the same messages. We decided to go with somebody that had more experience for this role.
Yeah.
Appreciate. And it was just like that soiled, and will always, like, it's always in the back of my mind that I think that the process is so fucking broken as it is.
It's like an exercise, though. Correct, like it's like RFPs, right? So anytime somebody puts an RFP out, like
RFP is the biggest waste.
9 times out of 10, or even more, they already have somebody selected, but it's just part of the process.
Check a box.
It's the same thing that they're doing there, and who knows?
Fake due diligence. Yeah, it's
like we put it out. Yeah, he's our best guy.
But to your point, like it is going to be increasing. It's going to be increasingly necessary to network your way into jobs. Yeah. Just because there's like less jobs are going to get posted because of that. We're posting less jobs because it's becoming a grind and waste of time. But, you know, from a job seeker standpoint, like if it took you 100 applications to get 20 interviews, get one job 2 years ago, it's going to take you 500 applications to get 20 interviews to get one job.
Yeah, it's a story about somebody looking for a job. So working with another agency, and we're trying to win this big deal from this company that's out west, right? And we had another person that was doing a piece of the business that they like went around us and took business away from us. We're like, that sucks. But we're like, all right, well, let's go ahead and follow up and see where this deal is. And I'm talking to the other guy, and he's like, what's her name? And so we look up her name. And then we look up on LinkedIn, and we're like, because she made all these boneheaded moves. It turns out that she got fired from her job that she was a CMO at. And she has this thing out. She's like, unexpectedly lost my job recently. If anybody knows of a gig or any type of work I can get. And I was like, all right, that's how we do that. That's, you know, they instantly get fired for making all these awful decisions, and then they go. That's their networking. They go on LinkedIn and tell everybody, I was unexpectedly fired, when clearly, if anybody asked me the story, I mean, it was just literally a series of bad decisions that would have led there. But the number of posts that were on there, like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And everybody, I'm going to help you get what you can get. The sad thing is, though, that there's other performers that are way better than this lady. But the shitty person that makes all these moves is going to put that post up there, and she's going to get placed into this other company based on like guilt and whatnot. And that's the networking.
Yeah. Well, that's rule one.
That's my little
name.
Sorry.
Rule one. What's her name? Throw it out there. Rule one of LinkedIn: do not speak ill of job seekers. You'll get canceled immediately.
Yeah.
Every job seeker is precious and never did anything wrong.
Every job seeker is precious. That's a good t-shirt.
Yeah. And never did anything wrong.
Take. Yeah. I would love to get James open to work.
She had the open to work.
It's inconsequential. It's fine. Whatever.
Open to network.
Bullshit.
Use it. Don't use it.
Is it open to work or open to network?
You have an opinion.
It's honestly, I think it's like the dumbest topic ever. Okay. That's my opinion. Use it. I don't care. Whatever.
Yeah,
I think anyone who says don't use it is an idiot. But like, it's just like such a played topic.
I agree.
They need to redesign that thing. That's ugly. The little green like swirl.
Well, what would you do?
They should use AI to redesign that.
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly what I would do.
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
ChatGPT.
Marketing and AI and marketing. We wanted to check out that dovetail right into that.
Yeah, let's go.
So here's the thing. Like a year ago, I was like, man, we're a decade away from AI taking anybody's job. I don't think that's the case anymore. Like, I genuinely think that
I think has.
Yeah. I think that the two areas I believe most likely, so low-level marketing jobs. I think we'll start. SEO is probably the best example. SEO is fucking dead as a career path, in my opinion, because if you think about it this way, and this is no offense to anybody who's focused in SEO, the entire principle of SEO was how to write blog content or website copy that isn't valuable to the reader, but is valuable to search engines, so you get pulled up. And it's basically machines should be.
You want to hear something awful?
Yeah.
Nope.
We built an application that uses AI to just generate blog posts for another friend, their agency, and they're crushing it. They're just literally creating all this like super quick content.
I think,
but they don't give a shit who reads that content. They only want to show up.
No, and it's polluting the web. I get what it is.
That'll
leading to model
collapse.
Topic. Yeah, leading to model collapse. But I think that the issue is that most companies, there's always going to be a place for marketing agencies that do high skill strategy work. Yeah, Jared, I'll give you
absolutely.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
But like the stuff that's more, there's a lot of companies out there where basic and a lot of it and quickly is more than good enough, and they're gonna use a lot of these. They're already using a lot of these AI apps instead of using an agency or hiring more. So I already think it's going to take a hit on a lot of low to mid level marketing jobs, especially at agencies.
But they're laying off. They're laying like companies are laying off, and it's not
hiring
it's not a good look.
Even growing though. That's the other thing too.
Yeah, I mean, what you said there was two.
Second, I believe that software engineering is taking a massive hit now.
Junior level developers,
but it's more. Any developer I talk to, any tech person. I'm not a tech person, so if anyone out there is a tech person, tell me I'm wrong. But anyone I talked to when even the first iteration came out, it was like, this is the best tool you've ever seen.
Copilot?
And any of those at this point. Because it just gives you the answer and helps you create your code faster which means any good developer, any great developer can do this stuff way faster than they used to, which means they need less time to achieve their projects, which means the company needs less developers to do those projects.
And also QA too. So there's applications that are running for that's literally a profession where people do quality assurance.
But everything that we're talking about leads into what the big topic of today is model collapse. Yeah. Like those codes, like the smallest thing in those codes can completely.
I like how he listens to a podcast.
Now he's the big topic today.
This whole thing is about model collapse.
What's model collapse? I'm like, I gave you an article on this like a week ago.
I read it in a book.
That's not true. I was just fucking with you guys. I've known about it for a while.
But you're right. So model collapse, for those of you who are not aware. I'll let Jared give us the summary of model collapse.
No, there's no chance. Go for it. It was your idea.
No, it was my idea, but I didn't listen to an hour-long podcast on it. Basically, once the problem is that once it gets out in the ether, whether it's written content, whether it's code, whether it's whatever, and if there's mistakes or flaws or whatever, the AI starts training itself on other AI stuff that's out there, and it starts perpetuating issues and flaws and things like that. And eventually the models completely fall apart. That's the collapse of the model. And you can see this. And the thing I heard is interesting is this isn't even necessarily an AI specific, like humans do this.
You're right. It's the West Virginia problem. It's inbreeding. That's what we're talking about here.
Kind of.
It is.
But even general, like anytime, even though the basic.
What do you mean by inbreeding? Let's talk about inbreeding.
The basic logic of
one person has sex with siblings, right? And then they just get dumber and dumber.
Yeah.
Dude, this is literally
it is true.
Yeah, I mean,
it's literally AI.
It's good.
That's better than my example.
The example I was going to use was like if you look at any of and this I guess goes straight to inbreeding. If you look at any of the AI generation of like hands and fingers is a big topic, right? So if you look at it, like you'll see pictures that have like 8 fingers that have
the irony of that, which is crazy. I remember I took like an art history or humanities class in college, and like for centuries, people have not been able to like draw hands. And now AI can't draw hands
because AI views like fingers as like appendages. So, and they've continued to build out these, and it's literally like you're seeing it with the fingers. It's where they go to the extreme of it. They're like, okay, well, we're trained on the fact that they're appendages, so it doesn't matter how many are there. So then you start to like continue to prompt it and prompt it and prompt it, and it doesn't go to 5 fingers. It goes to like a massive thumb, sticking out the side of and it gets like more like crazy and crazy. But that's what it is, and it's crazy. I mean, and it's terrifying to think about it. There's no regulations or people to monitor this, humans to monitor this, and put some like guardrails.
That's what OpenAI was supposed to do. That was their original plan.
But everybody's so like dependent upon it now, and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah,
that it's going to be like it's one of those like. It's too late. Like, we're fucked.
And then it's de-skilling. That's the other part of it.
Oh boy.
People are going to forget how to do stuff. People are going to be so dependent on stuff that and the thing is, it's already there with like writing. It's back to like a crappy LinkedIn post. You know what I mean? Like people were never good at writing. Most people, average person, was never that good at writing to begin with. And now that they don't have to do it at all, they can just do a voice thing, like voice note into ChatGPT to make them a LinkedIn post. Like people's ability to, and I've always been a big like being able to write your thoughts and articulate yourself as a way to organize like your own mind.
Yeah.
People are going to get dumber.
I agree. People are definitely.
But you got to think though, the technology will have some type of break to it, right? Because you have all these negative inputs that it's learning from itself. The beauty of that, based on what's said, is that humans can never be completely extracted from it, right? Because you're the original creator to some extent, where it's always going to have to pull from.
But they will start overriding what the original data was.
Yeah, it's the model
based
collapse.
On
they're gonna
the new information that they think AI thinks is.
So it always peaks, is what you're saying. It's going to hit a peak, and then you're like, all right, this is as good as it's going to get.
The original data input, which is another like whole separate category when we talk about content farms and how in SEO and content farms, like people are using these content farms with shit information, but all they give a shit about is the SEO aspect of it, right? Twitter's another one though. Twitter's just going to continue. The more bullshit and bots that are on Twitter.
It's mostly bots.
Yeah. That's going to continue to build into this model collapse.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I think everything hits a peak at some point, and then you're going to have to like rebuild, because we're talking about
the racist Twitter bots are going to read the other racist Twitter bots who are going to read the other and they're going to make more racist tweets based on that, and then the model collapses.
Ooh, man, imagine being stuck in that
Should
room.
Be a good time.
Those things were like
my kids
real.
get older.
Yeah, absolutely.
And use all this shit.
These guys thought baseball was bad.
Ready for a hard pivot?
Yeah.
Move on to the other topic.
What are we going to
talk about?
What's next?
Well, the other thing we're going to talk about was the disabilities and greed.
Oh boy, this is definitely.
We had two specific stories. One of you two was your job to actually pull these up to be able to kind of talk.
Did we talk about de-skilling?
What's that? I think we beat this to death. We can.
I just like the airplane. That airplane story is terrifying.
All right, the airplane example on de-skilling. Go.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It is the fact that pilots are using technology and automation so much in the way that they fly that they're dependent upon it now.
Yeah.
And when you think about like Scully, who landed that plane at the Hudson River,
yeah, Sullivan.
He went against what the automation.
I think it was Sully. Scully was
Scully.
X-Files.
Who was Scully?
X-Files.
Oh, you're right.
Sully.
Mulder and Scully.
Yeah, they're out there.
Sully, but he went against it, and he used like
human intuition,
training in his training.
Yeah,
where like that. Yes, but most pilots nowadays are trusting.
Were they telling him, they're like, yeah, you're going to have to go over to New York. He's like, nah, we're going to go ahead and land it right here in the Hudson. Like, I mean, they're literally telling him to go to like.
Yeah, he's like, no, we're not doing that. Yeah, but yeah, to what Jared is saying is like de-skilling is going to be a real thing in a lot of parts of like business office door culture, like things that we all do nowadays.
But I think it's any embrace of technology, because humans are inherently lazy, right? Like, I mean, you take the sharecropper from like the 1800s, and that guy would whoop any farmer's ass today just based on the work that he would have to do. But the technology that is used, of course, makes today's farmer far superior.
Unless something breaks, unless something needs to be innovated. If no one has, that's where it kind of dovetails back to the model collapse. Like if something breaks and you don't know how to fix it,
you're fucked.
Yeah.
Like this is the example. Digital devices tune out small errors while creating opportunities for larger errors. Like that's the whole premise of a lot of this, what we're talking about with de-skilling. Air France flight that crashed in 2008 or 9, something like that. It was functioning perfect. And the last words on the black box were, "It's not true."
Yeah, I did remember reading this.
That's crazy to me.
And the reason why you brought this has been an issue. This has been an issue in the airline industry for a while.
Did you not read it?
I think I read it like 3 weeks ago when it was originally like
the concern with AI is like
short-term memory.
The same thing that's been happening in the airline industry with airplanes is going to happen over like robo taxis. You know what I mean? Or if you're in an autonomous car and you're in the driver's seat and like, oh, it knows what it's doing, and the next thing you know, you crash because you don't realize I have to override this. Something is wrong.
But what if the message like "it's not true" was the argument between the pilots or something when he said your wife doesn't love you.
I didn't say
and then he's just like and he took the plane down. Like, do they even know why that plane crashed?
Yeah, I mean, we could go with that. It's like that episode of The Office. And they're like, just let the GPS go to take you. And he's like, it's taking us into a pond. It'll correct itself. Boom. So, yes, I don't know if he was talking about his wife cheating on him. I don't know. Where do we go?
I'm just saying is like, so it's not true. Like they're taking that piece of information to say that he's relating that to the technology that was happening on the plane.
Fine. It's just something to make you think.
It is, but
when you fly next, just think about it when you're in the air.
Well, if you think about, all right, what's made what's made airlines so safe at the same time as made pilots pretty lazy is that the checklist, right? That's what everything is based on, from like process communication. You have the checklist that the pilots go through before they fly and whatnot, and it's taken air safety to like a whole nother level. But at the same time, when you have processes, you make people lazier because they're not going to think about the nuances and the other things that are in between. So it's a bit of a paradox in a double-edged sword.
I would argue that those are just bad employees.
What? The ones that crashed before the flight?
No, but you're talking about a checklist.
Yeah.
Like if you're going through, and I wouldn't say it's lazy. I would say the good pilots, it can be anything. It can be an athlete that has a routine that they go through before each game.
And they just quit doing their routine one day.
Right. And then they just stop doing the routine one day or paying attention to the routine. That means you're not good at what you do. But if you're good at what you do and you're paying attention and you're purposeful in your checks.
Intentional, yeah.
Whatever, intentional. Yeah, then you should be fine. But I would just say that's a shitty employee.
I feel like intentional is overdone. I'm going to go with purposeful.
Yeah, fuck off, John.
All right, jeez. God. Forgive me.
All right, we had two stories.
That
we found, and they are completely opposite end of the spectrum.
Which
John,
one do we want to start with?
Disabilities and greed.
The guy with the exoskeleton.
Let's go.
So there's a guy that was a jockey, paralyzed, similar to Superman, thrown from the horse, and
Christopher Reeves.
There's
multiple Supermans for stuff.
The one who fell off the horse and got paralyzed.
So anyway, the jockey, gets an exoskeleton. So the guy is paralyzed, can't walk. He now can walk because he's completely animatronical. Has the thing, cost him $100,000, has it for 10 years, and then a little piece breaks on it. So he contacts the company, and the company said, "Yeah, well, we don't service that model anymore."
And apparently, it's like a wire. It's like a little.
Oh yeah,
it's like a little wire that would connect one thing to another.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it's a specialty piece or something like that.
Yeah. So he then takes to social media and gets the media involved, similar as Mr. Gibson Sr. did. And on account of that, they decided to acquiesce and say, all right, we'll go ahead and fix your exoskeleton.
Yeah. So it was crazy because, like, we're talking about greed, like they were gonna try to get away with making this guy pay another $100,000 for a brand new exoskeleton, which were perfectly fine aside from the one tiny piece. These like niche industries, like in these areas, like there's because they're also talking about what if this company went out of business? You know what I mean? That happens all the time.
That just happened.
Medical devices,
right?
You know what I mean?
At that point, the guy should say like go to some type of electrician or something or engineer to try to fix it. What I was thinking though is there's a company in the future that's going to allow people to see that have been blind. They're going to see their kids and like, oh my God, this is great. And I'm like, yeah, you owe us another $5,000 if you want to see the kids again. They're literally going to take away their vision.
Upcharge.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Throw advertisers in there. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. No, it's I'm glad that worked out for him. I don't think I read the rest of the article.
Part of the article, they talked about the right to repair laws. Like if there's nothing in place, like which there should be, like you'd think that would be something that should be passed.
Which is weird though, because that works on two sides, which I understand because this guy can walk or whatever, but then it's on his onus to, if it's like out of warranty or whatever, he can get it repaired somewhere else. But a business shouldn't have to service something for forever. I mean, that doesn't make sense either from a business model standpoint, because then you're having to just retain things you don't need.
What if they made such a good product and 30 years from now, he's like, same thing happens. You know what I mean?
What are some other scenarios where this is like something that could happen? Like besides exoskeleton, obviously.
Well, I mean, you can take a car, right? Like, I mean, you're going to bring.
No, I'm saying like that are like essential to live, to function.
Oh man, you have pacemakers.
Okay, so let's talk about pacemaker.
Well, you got to think of like all the ambulance chasing attorneys that go after, like any kind of human organ type of thing that you have medical device that, fails or isn't serviced anymore. I mean, that's like a class action lawsuit.
Yeah. And it's not different than a pharma bro, Martin Shkreli, what was his name? Shkreli,
the guy who bought like the Wu-Tang album.
That's just the thing I was thinking of too.
He's still in jail. He's in P. Diddy's. Isn't he in
Is he? I don't think he's in jail. He's out.
Where is he?
He was actually, he had the best Twitter commentary on who got in trouble recently? Was it? Oh, I think it was the Trump trial when he got convicted. He was like talking about like he was giving really good like
tips.
Yeah, basically. But on Twitter, like saying, "Oh, he's screwed," because like I'm looking at the jury selection right now and what they're doing. Like it was actually quite.
There's nobody that I've ever seen that has more of a punchable face.
Yeah,
than that dude.
But it's
really?
the same.
Dude, Lars Ulrich.
But
yeah. From Metallica.
Yeah,
really?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll close with that one and come back to it.
I forgot what I was going to say after all that. I just got
Martin. You were talking about like what?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's weird about like people in like these situations is like they have at least Pharma Bro. At least that was a major thing where like a lot of people were impacted. So there was a lot of kind of public outcry.
Yeah, it was so shitty.
If it's like a smaller, like how many of these exoskeletons were created? How big is this company? You know what I mean? Like it flies under the radar. You're never going to get that kind of support, and people like this actually need that stuff. You know, so.
Super scummy. Like it's like the nastiest thing you can do. I mean, like you give somebody the ability to walk and then tell them like, we're going to need another $100,000, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
you like this walking thing. You got to keep that going. I need to line my pockets.
Yeah. All right,
it's terrible.
Let's flip the other side.
But there was one on the other side, John.
There was.
Go, John.
So there's ADA disabilities, right? As we know. So you have your ramps that you can get into your favorite restaurant or wherever you're going, or you have what do you call them? Sorry, hotels, wheelchair accessible rooms where you can do a donut and whatnot in the bathroom. Well, online, the people that have vision and hearing disabilities, websites need to be up to a certain standard, ADA disabilities, which is called WCAG, and there's whole standards which you can nerd out and get into it later on. In any event, there are people with disabilities that are aligning themselves with law firms that are just going to websites claiming that it's not functioning properly, and on account of that, they're just sending out tons of lawsuits and getting paid, literally making a career out of this.
There's the one, so there was a woman doing this. She was making, she wanted to buy like a $20 widget or something or whatever it was.
It was like a Haribo or something, a ribbon.
Yeah. And so she wasn't able to do it. So she sued the company for tens of thousands of dollars. They settled with her for, I don't know, was it $10,000 or something like that? Because it was as cheaper than actually having to go to court and kind of fight.
Oh yeah, you're not going to sit in front of a jury and then have somebody that says like, "Oh, I wanted to buy this for my grandkids."
Did she prey on multiple? Like this person preyed.
Oh man, yeah. So there's like a handful of people with disabilities that are the majority of the lawsuits. Like they'll literally just go. There was a lady that I think she was in Florida, and she sued 50 golf courses, right? And she has never golfed in her life. And most of those golf courses were more than 5 hours away, which if anybody has golfed, I know you hate the outdoors.
It's the worst.
Hates.
The worst.
You can't get them on a golf course.
John, we'll get them to golf next year.
No,
we will. Yeah,
no chance.
Absolutely. We're going to tell them like, dude, they got pens and stuff. You can like write while we're out there. And she anyway sues 50 golf courses, never golfed and everything. So they threw most of those cases out, but the 5 that were within 5 hours of driving, they allowed her to sue. All right, so you want to hear the real kicker out of all of this?
Sure do.
So there's 2 major law firms that do most of the suing in this space, and the major law firm got sued because their site wasn't ADA compliant.
That's good.
Yeah. So they're also under RICO
that's like a
investigations.
happy ending too. Like, either way, I still think that there's vultures out there.
Oh yeah, dude. These are like this is the new cottage industry for ambulance.
There's vulture companies, and then there's unfortunately vulture people and law firms.
Well, I told you the story about my buddy that like I don't know all the details of it, but he set up like some cold automation to reach out to certain industry. Anyway, he set up the automations and was reaching out via email. Somebody got the email, responded back and said that based on so-and-so laws and whatever state the guy's in, you're not allowed to reach out to me cold unless I've opted in or something like that.
Yeah.
The guy ended up suing my buddy's company, small company, like not like, luckily I think they had some investors so they were able to cover it, but ended up having to pay out like a significant, like 20, 30, 40,000. I don't know the exact number.
It seems like it's always under 50, but it's still a big chunk.
It is a big chunk for a small business. Like the article you talked about, that lady was just like put her shit out on like Etsy.
Yeah.
And was like building napkins or whatever the hell she was building.
Shopify store.
And she ended up having to pay total with legal fees like $20,000. Like, Like, that's crazy. Dude,
Domino's, like Winn-Dixie, like huge companies. Winn-Dixie's in Florida. I mean, granted, it's big to us, but they've had to pay these huge settlements, and like those are like big cases where they've tried to take it all the way. Like, no, we're not doing this, and it was just somebody that wanted some coupons for a pizza.
Yeah,
and no, man, yeah.
But anyways, let's cut this off. We're done.
We've talked too much.
Sick of talking to you guys. So that's a wrap for episode 3 of the Business is Bullshit podcast, brought to you by Dom at Stark Media. We made it again, guys. Can't believe it. Catch you, everyone out there. Next time, you can see our podcast on YouTube, listen to it on iTunes and Spotify. James Hornick, Jared Gibson, Jon Tsourakis signing off, reminding you that business is bullshit.